Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Jonathan pledges adequate security and respect for voters' choice ahead of the Osun State governorship election. Bring Back Our Girls campaigners resolve to explore new strategies in their demand for the rescue of the Chibok girls. 800 Nigerian soldiers return from tour of duty in Darfur, set to join the fight against insurgency in the north. And Israel's Prime Minister vows to continue operations in Gaza after Hamas tunnels are destroyed. All our top stories can be found on our website channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. We also urge you to please interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS and Windows 8 platforms. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions.
Yes, sir.
Well, these are some of the 800 Nigerian soldiers who have just returned to the country from a peacekeeping mission in Darfur, Sudan. Addressing the contingent on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff shortly after their arrival at the Ribadu military cantonment in Kaduna, the General Officer commanding 1 Division of Nigerian Army, Major General Kenneth Osuji, reminded the soldiers that their exposure to international warfare is needed at this critical time to tackle the Boko Haram challenge, which has become a threat to national security. General Osuji also commended them for displaying a high level of professionalism and discipline while in Darfur.
I expect a rapid reorientation of the unit to face the current security realities in our country, and in particular Kaduna. As you are all aware, the activities of Boko Haram terrorists and armed bandits are still recurring threats in the division AOR and the nation at large. You are therefore expected to remain highly committed to discharging your duties when called upon.
And as part of efforts to ensure the safety of the nation's waters, the Nigerian Navy has begun a sea training exercise with the British Royal Navy. The 3-day training covers navigation, engineering, damage control, firefighting, boarding, and security operations. The visiting commander of the HMS Iron Duke, Tom Treasury, who was received by the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Sami Alade, lauded the prospects of trading ideas with their Nigerian counterparts. Our correspondent, Oroluwa Shonibare, reports.
In addition to curbing piracy on the seas, the monitoring and protection of these ships in choreograph formation is a major part of the Nigerian Navy's tasks. But this is a job that cannot be done alone, and so they reach out for support. And the Royal Navy came to the rescue with the HMS Iron Duke. One of the top prize of the British Navy, she came along with 190 personnel. The exercise begins with a briefing by both parties on the rules of engagement.
We're looking forward to the training. As I was leaving this morning, the boats were arriving to take some of my team to work with your sailors, and we were expecting some sailors were a few minutes away from arriving on board for the training that we're going to conduct today. And there'll be further training on board Iron Duke tomorrow as well, which I think it's a fantastic opportunity to exchange information between the two navies. You know, we have a long history of working together, and we're keen to consolidate that, build on the work from previous ship visits, most recently HMS Portland, and take that forward together in partnership.
I want to assure you that your visit to Nigeria, particularly Lagos area, will be a memorable one. We will do everything in our power to ensure your security. And we are also going to ensure that the program on ground is strictly followed so that the objective of your visit will be fully realized.
Then it's time for the training to commence. The pounding waves make the exercise more laborious, but the Navy displays their competence. This well-organized formation is a testament of the successful exercise. And the sight of land is a pleasant one to some of us. All's well that ends well. After this exercise, it is clear that Nigeria's allies are in full support of backing the nation in its quest to protecting its shores and unity. Orolu Ashenibare, Channels Television News.
Well, the Ekiti State Police Command has arrested a gang of armed robbers who are believed to have terrorized residents of Ekiti, Ondo and Osun states. The suspects were arrested after a gun battle with the police in which the leader of the gang was injured. Some weapons and 4 vehicles were also recovered from the gang. The police public relations officer, Victor Babayemi, who spoke on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, appealed to the people of the state to continue to support the police.
They were actually robbed at in Oshogbo, where at gunpoint, where the owners of the 2 vehicles were injured with gunshot wounds. We've contacted the owner. We've got in touch with the Osun State Police Command. They are coming to take the vehicles and the suspects to Osun State, because that was where the crime was committed. They were bringing those vehicles because the receiver is here in Ekiti. The man who gave them the fake papers to register the vehicle, is here in Ekiti. Also, the man who looked for the buyer, who look for a prospective buyer to come and buy the vehicle, they are here in Ekiti. So what they do, like I said earlier, bring in vehicle from other states to Ekiti, put them up for sale, steal vehicle from Ekiti here, take them to neighboring states and put them up for sale.
The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria has suspended its 21-day-old industrial action following the intervention of the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Mr. Emeka Wogo. The truce was reached after a memorandum of understanding was signed at the end of a meeting between the minister and the leadership of the union in the nation's capital, Abuja. The president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Abdulwahid Omar, president of Judiciary Workers Union, Mustafa Adamu, and representatives of the Ministry of Labour signed the MOU. The judiciary workers have been on strike since July 11 to press home of their demand that all state governments comply with an order of the Federal High Court Abuja that all allocations meant for state judiciary be paid directly to heads of state courts. The MOU shows that state governments are obliged to respect the provision of the 1999 Constitution as amended and comply with the judgment of the court. For a disease that is spreading faster than efforts to contain it, sustained public awareness of the Ebola virus and improved disease control are important. On our Focus on Health tonight, our correspondent Yomi Otaigbe went to town to find out how much the people know about this virus that has no vaccine yet.
It's the largest and most complex outbreak of Ebola known in history. From 431 fatality figures recorded in 1976, when the virus first appeared in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, to over 700 lives lost so far in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia since March 2014. When the news broke that a man came into Nigeria from Liberia, was hospitalized and later died from the highly contagious Ebola virus disease in Lagos, the worst fears of many Nigerians was confirmed. But before then, or even right now, how much do Nigerians know about the risk factors for Ebola infection, its transmission and prevention?
I don't have any idea about it.
Have you heard of Ebola virus disease?
No.
They fear that in that what they call Ebola. They fear where I'm here. But now, if you see person, JJC don't want to know. I do cover my eye.
I understand it's from bats and bushmeat and uncleanliness. So that's what you have to be scared about.
There is a virus that results into a disease that has no cure.
You cannot just contact just because somebody's got it, except a dying patient, somebody who has got to a chronic stage.
So do you know about prevention for you?
Wow, prevention for me, prevention is just to be to keep yourself neat. That's the basic thing. Stay off unhygienic area, maybe a place environment that's quite dirty.
We have just been hearing about Ebola. We have not been fully intimated or been educated about what Ebola is all about.
Clearly, different levels of knowledge. Health authorities again set the record straight.
We need to do something about bats, because one thing that has been demonstrated in the case of the Republic of Guinea is that the bats, which is everywhere also in Nigeria, have been part of the transmission chain. And if we try to keep away from bats, communities that find that bats are delicacies, we should plead to them to leave bats alone to be and see whether we can also halt the transmission through our systems.
The thing really is that somehow the Ebola virus gets into other animals in the forest, in the wild, such animals like the apes, the gorillas, the porcupines, monkeys, things like that in the wild. People get in contact with them maybe by processing the flesh or products of such animals, some of those things not properly cooked, and then it gets into the human population when the human-to-human transmission then begins. And for the human-to-human transmission, what is important is that people come in contact with the body fluids. Body fluids, blood is obviously a body fluid. I think at this point I should say what the symptoms of the Ebola virus disease, what the symptoms are. Often there will be sudden onset of high fever, then there's lethargy, muscle weakness, then vomiting, diarrhea. Then you can then begin to get rashes and then bleeding from different parts of the body. For the Ebola virus, the incubation period is 2 to 21 days, between 2 to 21 days. And by incubation period, we mean from the time somebody gets infected to the time the person begins to manifest symptoms. At the manifestation of these symptoms, that body fluids begin to leave the body, and then somebody can get in contact with them. So during that incubation period, the person is not infected.
Indeed, the race by health officials in Nigeria is to stop a potential epidemic and douse the palpable panic within the populace.
We have put certain measures in place, particularly with our port health services. But then the caveat there is that we can talk about our airports, we can even talk to some extent about our seaports, but about our land borders, we have a presence in 22 recognized land borders. That's our port health services. But as you know, as well as I do, that people do cross through unauthorized borders. So that could be one potential source of leakage.
Every community right now has to be vigilant and be watching for the signs that we've mentioned so that it can be quickly be reported to the health authorities. And then once there's an illness, somebody becomes sick, like we've mentioned, very high fever, which does not respond to the usual treatments you would give, and then somebody extremely weak, the wise thing to do would be to protect yourself, wear gloves, wear face masks, and then immediately get the person to a health facility where professionals can take a decision on what it is. So this is not the best time to be taking care of a very ill person at home.
Continued information and public enlightenment on Ebola virus disease is crucial at this time. not just in the urban centers, but also in the rural areas where health workers and facilities are limited. Yomi Otaigbe reporting for Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the federal government takes major steps to improve power supply in the country, set to offset 25 billion naira debt-owed gas companies. That's in a moment. Please join us again.